Welcome to Mississippi State Live here on the Voice of College Football. Andrew Miller joined by Christian Ballard here on a Thursday evening. It is another edition of our call-in show. Opportunity for you guys to join the show, be a part of the action. So for those of you joining in, if you want to do that, we have a link to join the stream pinned to the top of the chat as well as in the description of the video. All you got to do is click that link and then we'll bring you aboard. Keep the camera turned off just for, whatever sake. But yeah, it's your chance to be a part of the action. I imagine State fans who are tuning in will have plenty of thoughts that they would like to put out there, given that State is still reeling from that loss last Saturday against Texas. As you're joining in, we would greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Turn that notification bell on. You do know when we do go live. And if you could share the channel, share us on social media, share the stream videos, any of that stuff. Obviously, it is greatly appreciated. Christian, how are you doing on this Thursday?
Well, had a really busy and long day at work. Kind of tired, but I'm happy to be here and excited to talk some more Mississippi State ball this week with you guys. And it's been a very interesting up and down type of season for the Bulldogs, but kind of catching a break this week. At least we think for right now. Taking care of Arkansas this week on the road. We'll see.
I wouldn't say that because I've declared many times at this point I don't have much confidence in this team being able to find a way to get a win because they find ways to lose games. And you are going on the road, and Arkansas offensively is obviously a very, very good team. Their defense is garbage, as we'll talk about here just in a sec. But Arkansas is a team that can put plenty of points on the board, so that it will be a challenge for MSU. And look, we'll get going right away. Just talking about keys to victory. And again, if anybody wants to jump in, we'll probably hold that off until after we get through our keys to victory. So just keep that in mind. But I think the biggest thing for Mississippi State in this game, just in general, is you have to put away what happened last week. You really just have to shake that game off. What happened against Texas was awful. I and many others melted down. The team melted down, to be completely honest, in the game. Because you got a 17-point lead. You're going to snap the losing streak. I know Texas is not that good, but it's still a ranked team. It's a big-name program. Like, you got a chance to get that win in a dominant fashion, and then you go and you blow it. And what we've talked about a lot with Jeff Levy's teams throughout his tenure to this point is they have done a good job of fighting back. That even when they've suffered a lot of adversity, which they certainly have now through 1 3/4 of seasons under Levy, effort has not been an issue. They were able to fight back really easily. I said really easily is not the right word, but all throughout the 2-10 season, they fought back. Despite losing the games over and over and over again, there was no quit in that team. There was never a point in the season where they said, screw this, we're done, we suck, we don't want to go out there and compete. They still went out and tried to compete every single week. They weren't able to, and Jeff Levy was very blunt in his press conference this week about last year. We just were not a good team, and we were not able to go out and compete. This year we have a good team. We're able to compete. We just got to find a way to close the games. Last year they continued to give out effort. This year, you lose the Tennessee game in the fashion that you did. I don't think they went out against Texas A&M, and it was some quit factor. The defense played as well as they possibly could have for as long as they could have. The offense at least struck quick in that game. And as we have Jacob here, we'll add him to the stage here in just a sec to get his thoughts. They responded really well in that game early on. They responded after the Florida game and tried to fight back against that, and they played well against Texas. Can you have a response? You're going to have it here on the road, and we'll see what Jacob has to say. Jacob, welcome to the show.
What's up, guys?
Nothing much.
Welcome in.
What's on your mind?
Golly, I don't know. The past few weeks have been pretty gut-wrenching. I've been trying to get on the call-in here for a few weeks. I didn't know when y'all did it until last week, and then I had some personal issues, but I've been listening to you, Andrew, since you've been doing the Maroon Mic. And then I popped over from there. I'm usually logged in on YouTube as Right Yard Services just because that's the default that it logs into. So
Gotcha.
that
Oh,
is
We've
the
okay.
seen you be
I've
a part
business
of
seen.
sign.
that. We appreciate all the interaction.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
for
that's
sure.
why it's a business. It's really me. I'm just that's the default it logs into. I didn't feel a need to change it. Um. Anyways, what's y'all's thoughts on this? The upcoming game we have this weekend.
I think, and I'll get into this as we go forward, some of the keys to victory. This, to me, has to be the game where you truly see the Jeff Lebby offense that we were envisioning when he was hired. And you've gotten glimpses of that. You've even had mostly full games of that to this point. But looking through, you've not had a game start to finish since Lebby was here that against a quality opponent, I might add, where the offense looked like what you expected when you hired Jeff Lebby, where it's consistently moving up and down the field. It's big plays, 40-plus points on the board. You haven't done that against a good opponent. You've had some nice outings. They had a good outing last week against Texas. It just couldn't close the game out. But even last year, against some of the lesser defenses State played, they weren't able to really have that type of a game. Tennessee, the offense they put points on the board, but a lot of those points came off of short fields. I mean, if you kind of remember in that game, State didn't really put together long drives. I think they had a couple, but other than that, their points happened when Tennessee would turn the football over and set up State in good field position. So you need to see State in this game against an awful, awful Arkansas defense, and we'll talk about the numbers later. They need to be able to have a big day. Like, this needs to look like Jeff Lebby offense through and through. And they're probably going to have to, because I expect Arkansas to put points on the board. I like what I've seen from State's defense overall this season. No doubt they are more competitive. They at times have been good and could definitely give State a chance in games. This might be as good as an offense as they've seen, which is kind of crazy considering the competition, but the numbers back it up. So playing that game on the road, they're going to need a big-time offensive day, and really that's a big thing I'm looking for here.
Yeah, I hear you. I will say I think that we've unlike the Kevin Barbay offense, because that's whenever I really started following football. I mean, I'm pretty young. I'm not going to tell you my exact age, but I'm pretty young, and so I haven't been following us since prior to Mike Leach era. I was not watching football close enough to actually be able to know anything about it. And I know that in the Kevin Barbay offense, like, we had no clue what it was or what the goals were supposed to be. But with Jeff Lebby, I will say this: although it hasn't always been executed the best, he's running the veer and shoot. I mean, it's run, 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 huge pass, run, short pass, run, huge pass. Pretty consistently. I mean, it's not quite that cut and dry,
Right.
but I do think that we've seen he has a offensive identity. Like, there is a very clear offensive identity. That's probably one of the things that I like the most about Jeff, is there's a very clear thing they're trying to execute here, and you can tell when they do it and you can tell when they don't. And frankly, I think that we would be heck of a lot better, and we would be talking about this in a different way. We would have already put together some full games if we had better quarterback play. I am nowhere near a Shapen apologist. I said after the Florida game he shouldn't start against Texas. I think that if we had a better quarterback in, I don't know if Mario Taylor could have done it or not. I don't know if he's ready or not. I've talked to somebody that knows a lot more about it than I do, that actually lives in Starkville and covers it and stuff, the other day, and he was like, I've seen him in practice. I really don't think he's ready to have the full-time job, and I understand that as well. He is a freshman, he's going to make mistakes, but I think that if you have a competent quarterback with more talent than Shapen, you see in Texas, in Florida, and in Tennessee, but especially Texas and Florida, you absolutely run away with it, and you put up 50 spots on the board. And I feel like us not having the best QB play makes us extremely limited with what we can do, and as far as putting together full games of the veer and shoot.
All that's totally fair. I mean, I think a lot of it is offensive line. I mean, I go back last year, and look, quarterback play was a part of it for sure because Shapen early in the season, I mean, I thought mostly played well, but he was under pressure constantly. And as we've seen more and more this year, we know he's not a guy who handles that well. And then you go to Van Buren, who provided a little bit of spark for a moment, but then I think it started to catch up with him as a little bit too. Offensive line not being able to get protection is such a big part of it in terms of limiting what they can do. The run game being there has helped a lot this year. And
yeah,
you are right. Having that offensive identity, you can't deny. I mean, Lebby is running what he is known to run. And look, I think there's times I would like to see a little bit more creativity with it. I think that was something I thought Lebby had done a really good job of in the past, was finding ways to tweak things. And, just the idea of scheming guys wide freaking open, which I don't know if we always get. We've had it on some of the deep shots and Shapen them. But, just the idea of a tight end streaking across the middle of the field, which we see that a lot. If you watch Tennessee right now, if you watch Ole Miss, they find ways to do that. And it feels like we don't get that. Those are things I would like to see a little bit more of from Lebby. But overall, it's an offensive system that you're right. If State was getting better quarterback play, I mean, we talked about it after Florida. Good quarterback play, even solid quarterback play, Mississippi State wins that game.
Yeah, for sure.
Texas, I think Shapen really played well enough in that game. I think it just really all fell apart at the end. But overall, I mean, look, quarterback and O-line, if you were a little bit better at those spots, you're right. We probably would have more of what we were expecting going forward. This game is a big one you have to look to. If they don't do it in this game, I think it becomes a much bigger concern going forward.
Yeah, and I look back to last year when we had Blake Shapen get injured. You ask yourself, take the quarterbacks out of it and just look at the quality of the team play overall. Can you say that we were playing better the first few games of the season before he got hurt as a team than after he got hurt and we put in Michael Van Buren? I mean, do y'all think we were playing? Because I think we played better the second half of the season than the first half of the season.
We did. I wonder how much of that, and I'm not just trying to make excuses for Shapen at this point, but I do wonder how much of that is the team growing a little bit. Because keep in mind, they also started running the ball a lot better. And that Florida game, Shapen was your starter for 3/4 of that game. And really, I mean, that was the best the offense had looked all year. And, you missed, you have a couple red zone possessions that just don't go your way in that one. And that is ultimately where it kind of fell apart there. So I think it still would have probably been a similar trend with Shapen. I do think there are some things Van Buren did to bring a little bit of a spark. And look, some of the deep ball throws, he probably hit on those at a little bit of a higher clip than Shapen would have based on what we've seen from Blake this year. And, Van Buren does have a little bit more escapability. Now, he also took plenty of sacks as well, which I can't really blame him considering the protection in front of him. But, yeah, I think look, they definitely got better. I think it's more the team was figuring things out, and they got the run game going, which helped a lot. But, no, if you
I understand that. I wonder how much of that, though, was, just the team growing in general or the team having a different leader. I think there's that aspect of it too, and we'll never know. We can argue about it all day long. It's it's impossible to tell hypotheticals like that. What is true and what isn't true. So let me ask y'all this, both of you. Do y'all think what are the chances that Lebby gets canned, assuming the next 4 games we get blown out? Like worst case scenario, we get blown out, and I do not foresee this happening. But they beat us in the Egg Bowl 50 to 20. What are do y'all think there's any realistic chance that Selman pulls the trigger? Do you think it's a situation where he gets a year 3 automatically with the win over Arizona State? What are y'all thinking there?
I'll start out real quick. I feel like at this point, even though it was a great win, and it still is a great win over Arizona State, can we all just agree that we need to put that, not put it in the trash, but just put it on the back burner for a minute and just say, you got so you're asking what if we lose the next 4 games and we lose out or something like that. We talk about the Arkansas game.
Worst case scenario.
Not just losing, getting blown out.
Sure.
Yeah, getting blown out, everybody's putting up 30, 40, 50 points on us.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. especially with like Arkansas this week, man. Arkansas is really not that good. I mean, not defensively at least, but I mean, you're talking about a team that just fired their coach, which I kind of hate that because part of me, I really did like Sam Pittman. I thought he was really great, but you know, I don't know, man. Just going
Yeah.
forward, you talk about the rest of the way this season. If we lose out, we lose out. If we get blown out and we like basically crap the bed like in these games and just not show up, then we have issues. But you got to think about it too. Like I'm not like even the Georgia game. I would say like, oh, Georgia's an elite team. They're number 5. They're blah blah blah. I get it. That's true. But it's at home. And that's still even a game I say you don't want to lose like 41-10.
Yeah.
You want to stay in it. And if you lose it, you're hoping that it's around like a 35-24 type deal.
Sure.
Maybe if it's 2 possessions, 31-17, something like
Yes.
that. You just hope it's
Please
competitive.
don't be a heartbreaker though. Please don't
Yeah.
lose to Georgia in dramatic fashion again.
That's true. That is true.
That would
But
honestly
to
be
your
worse than
point,
like a 2-score
yeah.
game.
Oh no, for real. I mean, but to your point, if we lose out, is Levy gone? I don't. Huh?
That was Echo.
No. Okay. No. I think it depends on how you lose. I mean, if you got some interesting and challenging games coming up, I mean, who else we got? We got the Egg Bowl. We got Georgia. We got Missouri coming up. I
Yeah,
think
Arkansas,
Missouri's
Georgia,
still a good team.
Arkansas, Georgia, Missouri, bye week, Egg Bowl.
Yeah.
Arkansas, Missouri on the road.
I mean, just make it look good on paper is what I'll say.
Yeah.
So I would say if you lose out and it's the fashion that it has been to this point of the season, which is you're mostly competitive in the games, I think he's back. If what you were describing happens at that point, I mean, I think that would almost be more indicative of a team that has quit and a team that has given up, and that becomes a lot harder to justify keeping him.
Yeah, I understand that.
I don't know if he would be fired. I've said it many times at this point that I do think just in general, the overall improvement as it stands currently would be enough to justify bringing him back, even if you do lose out and things look, not ideal going forward. The situation of the jobs that are, open across the country also complicate things more. As I've said a few times, I don't think if you're state, you want to get into a coach search right now, which granted, I think there are still some pretty good options out there you could potentially land. But, that do you want to get into that territory? What I think the perception part of it is what is tough, because even if you get blown out the rest of the way, it's a matter of what candidate are you going to attract, and you add in, like, yes, you have the situation of all the jobs that are open. We also know the perception of Mississippi State, and I'm not sitting here trying to say that it's always accurate, but I know that the viewpoint on the Mississippi State job is, man, that's a really tough place to win, and which, to be fair, it is.
It totally is. I mean, especially with like Southern Miss and Ole Miss being in the same state as us, going after the same recruits and stuff. That makes it like geographically harder, and you have less. It's the most rural SEC town. I mean, objectively, it is a hard place to win. That's not something I am ashamed to say as a state fan, and I don't think that's a poor old state mentality. I just think that is looking at the facts. It's not an easy place to win. That's not to say it can't be done. Look at what Dan Mullen did. I mean, he got us there, and that leads me to the next thing I was going to say on the coaching search, which is, or well, coaching carousel, if you will, is whether or not Jeff Lebby gets canned. I don't think it should be based on his performance. I think it should be a situation where if we fire him, there shouldn't be any coaching search afterwards. It should be okay, that you can get this guy. Like, you can bring Dan Mullen back. And I know people have their opinions on that. I'd love it, but, I know some people would hate it. You can get a James Franklin. You can get a somebody else, a big name, John Gruden. So I'm just throwing out random people here that would be not necessarily heavily pursued by other people, but would still be great fits at Mississippi State. That would be looking to, well, would be maybe people that would accept a Mississippi State job in a bad situation like that, and because they're older, they've proven themselves. They're not trying to go back and they're not. This is their second time around. And so I think it's one of those situations, not a, well, you fire him because he didn't win enough. It's you fire him because there's a better option.
Sure. I think if it happens, you have to know that the next guy's in line, which that becomes tricky because if it gets out that you were searching around and taking calls, what does that do for Levy for the future? Because I know there's already the rumors about, is he potentially looking at other jobs currently? I don't know how attractive of a candidate he would be for another program unless there's someone who's willing to say, like, hey, we recognize you're in a really tough spot at Mississippi State. You improved things quite a bit year 1 to year 2. We'll take you on. I don't know. I don't think Levy's going anywhere
I
else.
saw the other day somebody posted on a message board that somebody, I think it was Oregon State, they said they would hire him and they'd let him put Art Briles on staff as offensive coordinator. I think that would be the only way where he'd leave, realistically.
The one that's come up quite a bit is maybe it was Oregon State, but I've seen Oklahoma State frequently.
That might have been it, and I got it wrong.
I mean,
yeah, I get the two confused.
I don't think it would happen because I also don't think that's like there's Oklahoma State insiders have a lot of other coaches that they're talking about right now as their most likely targets and options. I do not see Jeff Levy taking that job, even if he's floating his name out there. And I'm not saying that he is. I just know that's the rumor that's been around for about the last month or so. Jeff Levy, I think, will be Mississippi State's coach next year, barring, and this is what we were just kind of talking about, if it looks really bad at the end, I guess my closing point would be if you lose out and it looks ugly the rest of the way, you've given Mississippi State the justification to make a move.
I would agree.
I don't think I don't think that would help the job look more attractive. That's where, to your point of having somebody in line, would certainly be a very big deal. But I think there's a lot of coaches who, if you do fire Levy after 2 years, I think a lot of quality candidates, the type of guys that you would want to go after, because this is the other thing. If you're going to fire Levy, it's got to be a sitting head coach who has shown that could be successful. That was, and I'm not trying to do like claim that I, have changed my mind on Levy purely because of the last few games. At the time of the hire, and this is certainly not me trying to say that I knew it, because I thought there were chances it could work. Mike, I was a little bit concerned with the hire at the time because I felt like in that moment, Mississippi State needed a proven head coach. And with Levy hiring a coordinator, there's always a risk. And I think we've seen there's some growth there. That doesn't mean he can't be successful. That doesn't mean he can't turn it around. But I felt like the situation for Mississippi State was one where having a guy who's done this before matters quite a bit. And I think especially if Levy does not work out, Mississippi State cannot go after a coordinator. It's got to be someone who has had success as a head coach, ideally at a place where winning is not necessarily easy, where they've shown, hey, I can make it happen. I'm saying all this to say, attracting one of those candidates when you canned Levy after 2 years, when everyone looks at the situation he inherited, Chris Lowe doing the article for On 3, like, let's be honest, as much as it was cool to get an insight into things, that article is ultimately a little bit of like, that's PR is what it is. And it's PR for Levy and the staff of like, dude, this thing was bad when we got here. And it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I don't know if it should have been 2-10 bad, but it was bad when he took over.
Yeah, it was terrible.
The perspective is going to be, you got to give that guy plenty of time. He showed improvement year 1 to year 2. You don't fire him even if you went winless in conference. I think it'd be tough for State to make a move and get the right type of coach. But to the original question, if it is you lose out and it is ugly down the stretch, you would give State the argument to do it. I don't know if they would.
The last thing I wanted to ask you about before I get out of here was with the LSU job opening up and the Florida job being open, what are your thoughts on Lane Kiffin possibly moving? And, if we beat him in the Egg Bowl, does that increase his chances of going because they could potentially be knocked off out of the playoffs, and I would love nothing more than to knock them out of the playoffs and just send them back down a 2-10 or 9-3 season.
I wish,
Well,
but
I'll
I think
say,
go ahead, Christian.
okay. Yeah. So my thoughts on this whole Lane Kiffin thing, I'm gonna say a couple points here. I don't think the Egg Bowl, like if you knock him out of the playoffs, right? If Ole Miss loses, let's say it's the Egg Bowl or something, and they're sitting there at like 8-4, 9-3, whatever it might be, and they miss the playoffs and potentially an SEC title berth because of it. I don't think that's going to be the reason Lane Kiffin is out the door. I don't think they're in a situation where they're going to fire him. But I
I
also
don't.
would say this. I would say that Lane Kiffin himself, and I don't know this. This is just personal opinion. I feel like he's a money guy. Not like he's greedy or nothing, but he wants to, like, yeah, he wants to develop college players and stuff and use the portal and use his football IQ to go win football games and stuff. But he's going to follow the money, man. Whoever makes that call, if it's Florida or what was the other team you mentioned?
Well,
LSU.
not to cut you off, and I'm not saying
LSU.
he's telling the truth. Lane literally did an interview the other day where he said money will not decide it.
Yeah, he was like, Jimmy Sexton
Uh,
gets mad whenever I say that.
I must
Now
have
that I
missed
don't know
that.
what the truth of that is, but
Yeah.
but no, I was saying I wasn't saying he gets fired from Ole Miss. I'm saying
Right.
he loses to us and then he gets knocked out of the playoffs, which I feel like opens the door for him to be taken by another coach. Because if he's in the playoffs, then I mean he's not going to leave in the middle of them, and so then it's
Right.
like he's waiting until January to get to his new school. I'm not saying that's a deal breaker for Florida or LSU. I don't think it's going to happen with LSU. After seeing what they have said with their political crap getting involved in there and stuff, I think it'll either be Florida or he stays, or he like throws some crazy wrench in the plan and goes to Penn State or something. But I feel like it's more likely
Yeah.
Florida or Ole Miss that he stays at. I just don't know how to feel about it because on one hand I want bad things to happen to Ole Miss. On the other hand, I don't want. I want to beat them. I want to beat Lane. I don't want them to be like. I don't want them to always be able to hold that over our heads. How successful he was against us. So it's a hard thing to choose as a state fan. I feel.
What I'll say, a few things on that is, you talked about the political things with LSU. I think Jeff Landry just cost them any chance of landing Lane. I don't. So my viewpoint on this was, I do still think Florida's a better job. I think LSU is a much better job, and I don't think it's close. And I know Ole Miss fans will try to say that stuff like history and geography and resources no longer matter. It's the NIL era. Being close to high school talent does still matter. Having those guys in your backyard does still matter because, one, unless the offer is one a kid just can't refuse, most kids are still going to play close to home because mom and dad want them to play close to home. So
yeah, I agree.
Being in Florida, being in Louisiana is an advantage over being in Oxford. Not that you can't get players to Oxford, you can. It is just an advantage. The other part to it is they believe that high school recruiting is like a thing of the past. They have convinced themselves that because they are having success doing it all from the portal, you don't have to do it out of the high school to be successful. I think to win a national championship, it has got to be primarily building your roster out of high school players. And I think it has got to be, in terms of year after year, sustained success. You are doing it from the high school ranks. Can you have a one-off year where everything comes together because of players? Sure. I think long-term sustained success, it's got to be out of the high school ranks. That is where Florida and LSU both still have massive advantages over Ole Miss. Now, with Florida, I think the fact that the only coaches who have done it are Hall of Fame coaches, that's one of those things where it's not a job where it's as simple as step in and don't screw it up and you're going to win big. There's clearly pressure there and having to get it right. LSU is supposed to be, unless you are a total jerk nobody wants to play for, Brian Kelly, or and you don't screw it up, you're going to step in and win at the highest level because Les Miles and Ed Orgeron, not the sharpest tools in the shed, and yet those guys won national titles there because that job, it is just unique.
Yeah, I love Coach O, man.
It is unique how good that job is set up It is one of the very best jobs in the country. Top 3, I think, unquestionably, in terms of what you can achieve there. I felt like the Florida job Lane could look at and still say, you know what? Is a step up? Yes. Is it so much of a step up from an expectation standpoint that it's worth me setting aside the current quality of life I have in Oxford? He may say no to that. And I think there was a good chance he turned down that job. I felt like LSU was going to be really difficult for him to say no to. Like, if they seriously are interested, I felt like he was going to go and take that job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that that's happening anymore because Lane, I feel like, is the last coach who wants to go and deal with the BS that is going on there right now. When they talk about, the governor having the involvement that he is, and that being someone you have to answer to as a football coach, no one who is worth a crap wants to deal with that.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of that is they don't have a university president right now. I don't know anything about LSU politics and how that affects their football program. But
LSU
I know that might be
a very much been a thing.
Small caveat there.
Read about Huey P. Long and his involvement in LSU football. It's a very interesting state. The governor has always gotten involved in one way or another, but this is to a different level because it's the governor saying you are firing this coach, and it's the governor stepping in and saying, here's the other part of it. We're not going to pay the way that we paid for Brian Kelly. Now, as much as I think coaching contracts are stupid and it's dumb that coaches are getting paid what they are and that schools tie themselves down for these $100 million deals that are fully guaranteed, which is absurd to me. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is, right now, that's the cost of doing business if you're talking about getting one of the top guys. And Lane can say, he's not in it for the money. He's not going to leave a job in Ole Miss where he's making like $9-10 a year to go to LSU if LSU is saying we're not going to pay more than median coach price and we're not going to pay top dollar. So
yeah, you got to at least match it.
Yeah, I don't think I feel like they just kind of screwed themselves out of not just getting Lane. I think some of the other top profile candidates, like
I got a feeling they're getting John Summerall.
I'm wondering if Summerall might. I'm watching Tulane right now. I wonder if Summerall might say, you know what, I might legit go wait for something else.
Exactly.
He's not going to get Florida because Florida's insistent on hiring a Power 5 guy.
Yeah, after Sunbelt Billy, they don't want to go back to that level.
Right, but Florida State might open. Auburn could open, and if Auburn opens, they want Summerall like that. He's the guy there. And do I necessarily would I want to coach at Auburn over LSU? No, but with the current situation at LSU, God, maybe I do. So I think LSU put themselves in a bad spot. I think they're going to have a hard time getting Lane, and because of all that, at this point, I don't think Lane's going to leave. Maybe he still would be interested in Florida. I will say the timing. You to the original question of State knocking them out. One, I don't know if State can knock them out at this point because I don't think they're losing to South Carolina or whatever. They have South Carolina, Florida, and then I think it's the Citadel.
If they go 10-2, they might not. If they go 10-2, they might not be in it.
Maybe
likely
not
would, but maybe not.
Like Oklahoma, the problem is like both LSU and Oklahoma, those are their two good wins, and those wins, like LSU has already looked significantly worse. What is Oklahoma going to look like by the end of the year? I just kind of have a feeling of like 10-2 SEC team, especially after last year with all the griping and moaning about those teams that got left out. I kind of feel like if you're a 10-win SEC team, you're getting in this thing. And part of the problem is look at the available slots this year. Like there's a lot of very mediocre, middling teams that are going to have an opportunity. So I don't know if State's going to have the opportunity to knock them out. You'd certainly still love to win that game. As for the timing on it all, the first round is no longer prohibitive for getting a coach that was in the playoff because where they changed the portal window to makes it possible, you can still go get a coach. I think the portal window is like January 15th, something like that. Maybe that's a little bit later than it's supposed to be, but it's into January and the first round is in December. You can have a coach who plays in the first round and still go get him. So
okay,
we'll see.
I didn't even know that, but I know it will be a little bit harder though.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know at this point. I don't think Lane's going to leave, but I don't know if the playoff will be what keeps him there.
Yeah. So y'all have call-in shows every Thursday at 7.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Thursday nights at 7 Central. There's been a couple times where we just had, like, I think there was one night where, like, I had other stuff I needed to cover after not being on Monday, so I just did a normal show without a call-in. A couple times we've gone a little bit later. So it's kind of the general is 7 o'clock on 7 o'clock Central Time on Thursday nights. it'll pretty much always be Thursday. We may bump that a little bit later here and then, but you can generally bank on this time.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I loved being on. Thank y'all for having me. I will say one more thing about you, Andrew. I've only this is a good thing. I promise. I've never like watched the YouTube channels until a week ago. I love the beard. I was not expecting it. I love the beard though. Did not expect that, but it looks great.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. All right. Well, I will see y'all later. Thank y'all.
Thanks for joining in.
Thank you,
Really
Jacob.
appreciate your time.
Bye.
Good call.
Awesome. Thanks, Jacob, for taking the time to join in. Really great conversation. Good questions to get things going.
Got me thinking because of all the coaching carousel, especially for me, it's like Lane y'all made a good point though. Like Lane Kiffin does love the players and everything. He really does. And he's probably not the guy that's gonna necessarily follow the money, but I mean, he definitely wants to stay in college and I could see a scenario where he does like leave Ole Miss, but like at the same time, he'll take his recruiting, his coaching techniques, and everything, and just kind of build a new culture somewhere else if possible.
I think he's been that guy in the past. I do sort of genuinely think he's at a point where, like, I don't think he's completely BSing when he talks about his happiness right now at Ole Miss.
Right.
I don't buy into what Ole Miss fans think about it, about this is just some special place where anybody who gets here falls in love. I think he knows he's got a job where right now he's got good money behind him. The fan base is in love with him, and the expectations are never going to get to a point, or I doubt they ever get to a point where it's like, oh man, you went 8-4 this year. That's unacceptable. Which, to be fair, if they went 8-4 this year, they're going to be complaining about that, but he's not going to get fired over it. And that would never happen. So I think he will stay there until – could I see him leaving? Yes, but I think it would have to be a true cannot miss job. LSU was on that list. LSU is the cannot miss. That situation right now is a mess. And it's being reported right now. LSU is finalizing an agreement with their AD, Scott Woodward, for the parties to separate because basically, the governor, Jeff Landry, just comes out and says that Woodward will not be making this hire. So Woodward is going to be done in Baton Rouge. Don't have an AD. So, and like you don't have a president either. I think they're supposed to be getting the president hired very soon. That's a crappy situation. I think LSU screwed themselves over. The only silver lining for LSU is what if potentially they luck their way into a coach who's actually just a good quality, no-nonsense coach who's not a big flashy name, and they end up getting someone who comes and works out for them. A bunch of their fans are pushing further. One of their old players, Kelvin Shepard, who's the D-line, I think he's the defensive coordinator for the Lions right now. He played at LSU. He was like a D-line coach or a linebackers coach for the Lions and got promoted to defensive coordinator this year. And, I think he spent a year on the LSU staff, a year or two, like in 2020. So they're pushing hard for a lot of them are going to push hard. And frankly, they might end up having to hire him at this point with the way things are going, which, by the way, Tulane they just failed.
Oh, my gosh.
UTSA.
Did they not make the field goal? I'm fixing to see.
I'm fixing to see as well, but I guess I thought they went for a 4th and goal. I didn't realize it was 4th and goal.
No, they missed the field goal though. They missed the 4th and goal field goal. That was bad.
Wow. All right.
That was bad.
John Summerall, I guess he's been focusing elsewhere. No. Yeah. Okay. Well, we won't get much more coaching talk. Let's get into some of those keys to victory. And I talked about the big one at the start. That I think if you're State, you have to rebound. You have to put away what happened against Texas. You have to come out firing because Arkansas, for as much as that team is not great, they've shown they can beat teams. Oh my goodness, no Albert Reese this weekend. Huge loss. That's wonderful news to have. Let me look at that report already out. This is riveting.
Is that breaking news?
I suppose he was questionable yesterday.
Yeah.
He's doubtful to play. Okay. Which also Jefferson was probable yesterday and is now listed as out. Jerron Glover, who's a backup receiver, is out. They're going to be down one of their, but yeah, doubtful for Albert Reese. I wonder if somebody around State actually saying he's out. I mean, doubtful, he's probably not playing, which that's not great. I mean, Arkansas's pass rush is not very good. Their run defense is terrible, so I don't think State should be not be able to run the ball just because they don't have Albert out there, especially with Fluff back. That helps quite a bit because now Fluff is off the injury report entirely. So he was probable yesterday. Now he's not even listed. So Fluff is going to be good to go against Arkansas. He's going to need to have a big day running the ball. But yeah, still, State's got to come out locked in. And there's part of it is which team is more locked in. That might ultimately be what determines this because Arkansas, I think losing that game to Auburn, we can talk about Mississippi State losing to Texas and what that does for your psyche. I think Auburn's loss to Arkansas really got to them. Or so Arkansas to Auburn, sorry.
Yeah.
I have to feel like that got to them because they were, again, so close in multiple games. It's a home game against a team that they were favored. They were supposed to beat Auburn, and they were up 21-10. And then they lose that game.
Not to mention they came off 2 close losses to ranked teams with Tennessee and Texas A&M. Both of those games came down. I don't know how the game actually ended, but I mean they were both 3-point games. So I mean they were you talk about some of those games that they if things go their way, Sam Pittman is probably still the coach, and you're looking at maybe a team that only has 3-4 losses maybe instead of being 2-6.
It's possible. But look, that's the other part of it. Like you said, they've had these heartbreaking losses, and now you lose to Auburn when you really should have been able to win that football game. And that kind of felt like win this one for Bobby. There was also a lot of momentum. If they won that game, I think Bobby Petrino was going to be the next head coach at Arkansas. I think everybody around Arkansas, the vibe has flipped very quick from you know what, Bobby Petrino really isn't all that bad. Let's have him back to never mind, clean house, start over. Do they lay down at this point? I don't know. Whichever team comes out locked in is probably going to be the ones that gets it done.
Yeah.
I would say, okay, do you have something?
No, I was just kind of taking a deep breath there. I'm
Gotcha.
good, man. I'm still trying to kind of think of my keys to victory. I mean, I think for State, they really just need to show up in this game. And I'm not saying just show up to the stadium. They got to get back to what we had. This is your SEC moment to play like you did against teams like Arizona State, even against teams like Alcorn State and Northern Illinois. Now, I'm not trying to compare necessarily Arkansas to the Group of 5 level, but let's be honest, even though we just got through saying they have a couple games that coulda, shoulda, woulda gone their way, and they fired Sam Pittman and everything, it's still not the best of teams. So this has to be a big moment to get an SEC victory for Mississippi State. And I think it's going to, I don't know, man. Overall, I think they just got to play a 60-minute game. They just got to play clean and get off to a fast start.
Oh, that is the biggest thing overall. Mississippi State, it has been talked about ad nauseum at this point. This team is not good enough to make mistakes and win. If they do not play a clean game through and through, they will find a way to lose. They have got to play a complete game. They got to protect the football, have to be consistently moving the ball, and defensively find enough ways to get enough stops to get off the field. Consistently moving the ball is going to be a big part of it. This needs to be, and I was alluded to it as we were talking with Jacob, this has to be the offensive explosion game. Under Jeff Lebby, they have not had a 500-yard game against a power conference team yet. They've had some, 450 plus. They've not had a 40-point game against power conference competition yet. This has got to be the one where you put up the big number and you light up the scoreboard. You have to move the ball at will in this game. Arkansas gives up about 33 points a game dead last in the SEC at 436 yards a game allowed. They give up 194 rush yards a game. And Trey in the chat, I bet we run it 45 times, maybe more. Like, even if Albert Reese is out, Fluff Bothwell, Devon Booth, and maybe you want to ease Fluff back into it, that's fine. Vaughn has showed he can carry the load. This is a game they need to be able to, like, really tear it up on the ground. But just in general, offensively, you have to move the ball at will. There's no reason not to. Like, one, I think you need to show it because you're playing a bad defense. And if you don't go out and light up a bad defense, that's not a good sign. Two, you might have to put up a ton of points because I think Arkansas offensively, we can talk about the team as a whole and, not being a power conference quality, whatever. Their offense is really stinking good. Like, legitimately one of the best in the SEC statistically. And they've been in pretty much every game because of their offense. You're going to have to score in this game to be able to win. You need this to be a Jeff Lebby classic football game. What you envisioned when you hired Jeff Lebby, that needs to be what you see on Saturday.
I agree. I think that this is the moment to show why you hired Jeff. And, I want to say I'm surprised we haven't seen that yet. But I know we've had a tough schedule and everything. But the way in which we started the season, you would have thought down the road, hey, against Florida, hey, maybe against, I don't know, Tennessee or Texas. You would have thought that maybe we would have saw it by now. This has to be that moment. I fully agree with you.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. This hit into the 2A.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Man.
Did they call targeting?
Got it, dude. His helmet came off and everything.
That's targeting on the quarterback. I don't know what they did. Well, look at the quarterback. He lowers his head.
He ducks and he hits.
That's the
crown of the helmet.
That's that should be a play on the quarterback. I don't know. I mean, I have it on silent, so I don't know what happens.
I gotta see what happens. Hold on. I'm gonna listen.
I'm sorry. We're gonna interrupt.
No foul.
The quarterback should be ejected.
Yeah. Call overturned.
I don't know what the defender's supposed to do there. And again, I have no idea what happened. That should be targeting on the QB.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to talking about this game. That's State's going to be having for State. The other big key here, winning the turnover battle and taking advantage there. Mississippi State's been outstanding at forcing turnovers this year. One of the best teams in the SEC. Arkansas is one of the worst in the SEC when it comes to forcing turnovers. On the season, that's the wrong stat. They are, last in the SEC at turnover margin at -1 per game. They have turned the ball over a total of 15 times this season. That is the most in the SEC. And it's not like 1 or 2 games piled up really bad. No, consistently, they are turning the ball over 2+ times a game throughout the season against pretty much every team they play. This is going to be so key because that's kind of the one way you stop the Arkansas offense. They throw it well. They run it well. They don't give up a lot of sacks and a lot of tackles for loss. There were a few games where the pass protection was not great, but that was against teams that had good pass rush. Mississippi State does not have good pass rush. But they are the conference's best on third down. They are the best in the conference in the red zone. This team just moves the ball and scores. Arkansas's offense is really freaking good. The one thing they do poorly is they turn it over. Like Taylor Green has thrown 8 interceptions on the season. I know he's had some fumbles as well. They make mistakes. They get in their own way. You have to trust that they're going to make those mistakes, but you got to force them those mistakes. State likes to play a little bit aggressively defensively. I think it's funny. We've seen the shift in defensive philosophy where the first few games of the season, it was State playing pretty super conservatively, a lot of keep it in front of us, force longer drives to where now they've gotten a lot more aggressive. Look, I think trying to be more aggressive might make some sense here, especially in a game where it's probably going to be more track meaty. And I think sitting back against Arkansas doesn't make a ton of sense because of how well they run the ball. I think they'll just, if you're going to give them looks to run, they're just going to hand it off, and they'll probably find ways to convert. I think if you're State, this is going to be a high-scoring game. I would rather try to force negative plays that can be difference-making plays in the game. So trying to send pressure, trying to disguise coverages and to confuse Taylor Green because you can force him into some mistakes. You got to do that on defense. You got to get some turnovers. That's probably your best chance of getting stops.
I agree. I think, you know, the best part of Arkansas is Taylor Green, I would say, right now. I think you got to keep him on the bench. And when he is on the field, like you said, you got to force those turnovers. You got to, I'm not saying you got to pick him off or force a fumble or nothing. I mean, that would be great. That would be amazing. Uh, but you got to get off the field on third down and force them into fourth and long, third and long situations.
For sure. So we will make our picks for that game here in just a sec because it is time for our picks for the week. Looking back on last week, 7-3 for me. I was wrong about the Ole Miss Oklahoma game. I was wrong about Arkansas Auburn, and I was wrong about South Florida Memphis. Although Memphis blew that one, which Arkansas kind of blew that one as well. But other than that, I got the rest of them. Christian, it was not a good week for you. You went 4-6. You were wrong about Oklahoma, right about Auburn, Bama, wrong about Mizzou, wrong about LSU, correct about Tennessee, wrong about USF, got Washington, wrong about Iowa State, and you took Mississippi State to win. It was a
who did USF play? Who did I take?
Memphis.
They played Memphis, and I took USF.
Both of us took South Florida, yeah.
Yeah. They've had a good season, though, but Memphis can be tricky. But anyways.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that they had that game. They were up, and then it was not Mississippi State level collapse, but it was a similar, like, fourth quarter. They had a big lead, and Memphis came back. 4-6 week for you. We are now tied on the season, 58-32 overall. So going into the final month of the season, we are tied on our picks. We will see how this thing closes out. Should be fun and entertaining. Not the sexiest week within the SEC. Really not the sexiest week nationally. Hopefully that equates to some games that end up being a lot more entertaining than we were expecting. But we do have some ranked matchups, so let's get into them. We'll start off number 9 Vanderbilt on the road at number 20 Texas. Is Arch Manning playing? That is a big thing to look for in this game. He is questionable against Vanderbilt. That is kind of important, but I'll get your thoughts first.
Should be a good game. The fact that Vandy's going on the road kind of worries me about that there. They are 3-1 in the SEC. They're ranked in the top 10. I'm sorry. The fact that we're even talking about Vandy in the top 10 is just amazing to me. I love it. I really do. I know there was beef with my team, Alabama, and Ryan Williams, and this is amazing. Now, this game right here, Texas favored by 3.5. They expect it to be a close game. Texas, they need a big win like this at home. I know they're 6-2. They also got Georgia down the stretch. They got Texas A&M late in the season on rivalry weekend. They got to come away with a couple more SEC wins just to keep this thing rolling. But I'm going to go Vandy, man. I trust Diego Pavia and their offense more so than I do Arch Manning in Texas. I think the defensive side of the ball, I like Texas better. I like the home crowd and everything, but this is going to come down to offense. I'm going to go with the Commodores. Anchor down.
If Arch doesn't play, this pick might not work out. Arch has actually played good football over the past month. He was not good at Kentucky, but against Florida, he played pretty well. Against Oklahoma, he played pretty well. And against Mississippi State, some people are like, well, he was bad until the fourth quarter. Go back and watch the game. His receivers were dropping passes quite a bit. Like, he was making plays as best as he could in that game. I think Arch is starting to figure it out and play well. And I will say this, Vanderbilt, if you can throw on them, you can have a really nice day. And I think Manning is getting that passing game figured out. It's kind of the opposite of what I talked about last week. I was like, I don't know if you put it in his arms if they can be successful. I think now they kind of can. So I think Texas might be able to throw it on Vanderbilt a little bit. And the other side of the ball, Texas's defense, I know, like, obviously Mississippi State had success against Texas. Mississippi State was not able to run the ball on Texas. Vanderbilt has to get its run game going to be successful. I don't think they're going to be able to run on Texas. I'm going to take the Longhorns to get the win at home. All right. Go to the world's largest outdoor cocktail party in Gainesville, number 5, Georgia, taking on the Gators in their first game post Billy Napier. It is the Gonzalez. Why am I blanking on his first name? is it Billy Gonzalez? Is that the name of the receivers coach? He coached at Mississippi State. He was with Mullen in Starkville as our receivers coach. And I'm blanking on his name right now. Oh my goodness, another touchdown, UTSA.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Tulane's
All
getting worked. All right. But yeah, cocktail party, Florida versus Georgia. Who do you take?
I feel like with a new coach for Florida, they might get some stuff turned around a little bit. This is a big rivalry game every single year in the SEC. Uh, is it starting this year? They're taking it out of Jacksonville. Where's this? Is it back in Jacksonville still?
It's in Jacksonville this year.
Okay, I know it's gonna be leaving soon. And they're going back to like a home and home, whatever. But anyway, give me Georgia. I like Florida to put up some numbers in this game a little bit. I mean, they'll be able to score on Georgia, kind of, but I expect Georgia to kind of run away in the second half. So I'm going the Dogs.
Yeah, I'll stick Georgia. I think Florida will keep it competitive. They're going to have a good game plan in place, but ultimately I'll go with Georgia. Probably don't need much thought here. South Carolina, they let it get away from them against Alabama. Now they're going on the road against Ole Miss. Unless the Rebels are just having a big letdown spot, I think Ole Miss wins this game big.
I think they score at will. All aboard the Lane train. Give me the Rebels.
Another interesting game in the SEC. Number 18 Oklahoma at number 14 Tennessee. Very important game for the both of them for their playoff hopes going forward. If they're going to have any chance of making the postseason, they really both have to win out. Who do you take?
This game's at Neyland. This is Josh Heupel against his alma mater. Remember, he was quarterback at Oklahoma. I know they kind of mentioned that last year when these two teams met in Norman. I'm going to go Tennessee here. I think it's going to be, kind of competitive. I trust Oklahoma's defense a little bit more than Tennessee's, but I also lean on the Vols offense. Keep an eye on it with Joey Aguilar and company. I think they have a big day.
You took Tennessee, right? Sorry, I like space.
No, yeah, I'm taking the Vols.
Okay, I sneakily think Tennessee wins this game easily. I think Oklahoma defensively, I wouldn't say they were exposed against Ole Miss. It's still a good defense, but I think there is a way to be successful against them, and I think Tennessee is going to be all over that. Oklahoma's offense is not good. Tennessee's defense is not particularly good either, but Tennessee has a great pass rush. You know what part of the Oklahoma offense specifically is terrible? It's offensive line. The Tennessee defensive front is going to eat against Oklahoma. I don't think Oklahoma is going to be able to do anything offensively in this game. And I think Tennessee, it won't be a huge day offensively, but they'll do more than enough. And I think the Vols control this game and win.
For sure.
Kentucky at Auburn. Auburn finally got an SEC win. Haven't fully settled on whether or not they're sticking with Daniels at quarterback or if they're going to go back to Arnold. I don't know if it matters. I think Kentucky's just really bad. So I think Auburn actually will get a win.
I agree. As an Alabama fan, I remind you guys, I don't like Auburn. I would love nothing more than a down bad Kentucky team to win this game. But got to go with reality here. Auburn takes a big step forward to getting to 6 wins. I think that eventually they probably get another win somewhere. But to open up November, give me the Tigers at home. Night game at Jordan-Hare. I do like Jackson Arnold. I thought he definitely looked great in week 1. He struggled against teams like Georgia, obviously. I mean, they played a good game, but whatever. I feel like he's going to have a field day in this one.
Well, he might not play. He got benched
Really?
against Arkansas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Freeze hasn't said for sure that he's not going to start this one, but I wonder if he's not going to come back. I don't think it's going to matter. Auburn will probably just
Auburn's
going to
win.
Ball.
Yeah.
And their defense will shut down Kentucky. Their defense will win this for them. Looking nationally, College Game Day is out in Salt Lake City for a top 25 matchup. Number 17, Cincinnati, who's just kind of a weird season, man. Scott Satterfield, like nobody gave him any sort of hope at Cincy. That felt like a terrible hire at the time, and his first couple seasons weren't very good. But He's got the Bearcats, I think, with one loss to this point of the season. Tough task, though, going on the road late at night, taking on Utah at Rice-Eccles, number 24 ranked Utes. Who wins this Big 12 clash? Very important for the Big 12 title race.
Yeah, I mean, Big 12's loaded. You got good teams out there like Texas Tech, BYU, Cincinnati. Utah's still a pretty good team, but they definitely need this win more so than Cincinnati right now, just to kind of keep themselves open for the Big 12 race. As far as this game in particular, dude, I really like Cincinnati this year. I'm gonna go with the Bearcats on the road. I think they keep it close, but I like where they are right now, man. It was for me, it was kind of funny just seeing all these group of 5 teams come in to play in the Big 12 a couple years ago, and Cincinnati was just coming off a playoff run and everything. Uh, Pretty interesting program to watch, and this year has been really fun for them, and I think that their success will continue this weekend.
I'll take the Utes at home. Rice-Eccles at night, really tough. Cincinnati's a pretty physical team, but Utah's a team that can match that physicality. Also, it's the Big 12, so no one's just going to be able to race their way to the title game. They're going to take a bunch of losses and create a bunch of chaos, and we're going to have to go to a million tiebreakers to determine who plays. In order for that to happen, Utah has to win, so I will take Utah. Big 10 clash, number 23, USC taking on Nebraska. I think, USC still alive for the playoff. I can't remember if Nebraska's up to 3 losses at this point, so I guess they no longer are in the running. Maybe it's just 2 losses for them. Either way, I'm going to take USC. Nebraska, not very physical on the lines of scrimmage, and you kind of have to be physical if you're going to mess with USC. This is going to be a shootout, and I'm going to trust USC more in a shootout than I will trust Nebraska.
I agree. I'd like to see an upset here with Nebraska. I know a couple of Nebraska people and fans, so for them, I kind of want Nebraska to win, but if I have to go with who I think's going to win this game, I think Lincoln Riley has some tricks up his sleeve this weekend.
Both of us taking the Trojans. Number 10, Miami at SMU, because that's obviously an ACC game. Makes perfect sense. I don't have a ton of – I know SMU lost to Wake Forest. Not great. Welcome to the ACC. You're going to lose games like that. Miami, I think a lot of people buried them after the loss to Louisville. I still think they're a pretty good team. I'm going to take the Canes.
Yeah. I'll go Miami too. How many have I picked against you? Because we got to get some competition. Like,
Twice.
I picked
you took
against
Vanderbilt,
you twice.
I took Texas. You took Cincinnati. I took Utah.
I'm sure I could find another game in there. I don't know. Well, yeah, my gut says Miami. Forget it. The Canes will get this one. I don't know.
Important game for the G5 playoff spot. Navy taking on North Texas. Really fun game in the American. You get the option versus basically an air raid team. I ride for the air raid, so give me North Texas. Shout out to future Oklahoma State head coach Eric Morris.
Salute to the service academies. I got to go with Navy, man, all day.
That's fair. I hate the troops. You heard it here first, obviously.
Oh, my God.
I know.
You monster.
And finally, I don't hate the troops.
I know.
I will cheer against them, though, if they're playing an air raid team. Last game, it's Mississippi State in Fayetteville against the Hogs. Who do you take, and what is your score prediction for this weekend? How do you see this game playing out?
It is on the road. I do think Mississippi State is going to have some flaws in this game. I do think they get the win, but at the same time, I feel like even if the scoreboard indicates that they had a good performance because it's Arkansas, it would not surprise me if Arkansas comes in playing some house money and a chip on their shoulder. Score prediction. Oh, I don't know. 31-17, Mississippi State. 2 touchdowns.
I will be stunned if State holds Arkansas to 17. We'll see, though. I've said it multiple times. Until I see this team proves to me that they can win against a SEC team, I'm not going to pick them to beat an SEC team. I recognize that Arkansas is terrible. Their defense is awful. I expect State's offense to be able to have a big day. Arkansas might lay down after their point of the season where they're at, and there is the point for State. State's still very much alive for bowl eligibility. If you win this game, you give yourself a realistic shot. Whereas Arkansas, they're out of it. Technically, they can win out, but they're not going to. So the vibes are different, even for State coming off a disappointing collapse loss. I think State might actually be in a better spot going into this game, but I just can't pick them to win until I see them do it. They find ways to lose games. So I'm going to pick State to do what they do, which is cover the game. I think the spread's 4.5. They're going to cover, but I'm going to pick them to lose in a high-scoring game. 38-37, Arkansas wins.
All right.
And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Because I want to be here on Saturday talking about finally, like, it is finished. The Bulldogs got to win, but I got to see them do it till I believe that they do it. That is when you will see me next time, Saturday, for the post game. We will break down whatever happens against Arkansas. Game State plays at 3:00 Central. Game will be over by 6:30, probably 7:30 or so before I get on the stream, but that'll kind of be the early idea. Generally give it about an hour after the game. That's generally when I'm able to get going. We'll be back Saturday, recapping whatever happens between the Bulldogs and Arkansas. Hopefully we are talking about Mississippi State finally getting an SEC win, but again, they got to show me that they can do it before I think they do. Thanks to everybody for listening. To those who joined in on the stream and in the chat, we greatly appreciate you. If you haven't already, leave us a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, turn that notification bell on so you do know when we do go live. And if you continue sharing the content, we would certainly appreciate it. As always, swing your sword and hail State.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.